if you're looking for an underdog story, here it is. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at number 2. And we are looking at this roster. It is a very good one. The offensive line, you got Tristan Wirfs. You got Luke Goedeke on the opposite end for bookend tackles at number 5 in the NFL. Charlie Heck of a swingman to have, a good solid player, and with Tristan Wirfs likely going to be on the PUP list for the first 4 games, which does suck. However, that knee, he had to get that taken care of. So most importantly is that he's not out for the year. That would be a huge blow. It could hurt them early in the season, though, I'll say that. So we do have to factor that in a little bit. Maybe they struggle to begin the year. Tristan Wirfs, he's just such a big impact, protecting Baker Mayfield on the blind side in this offensive line. So hopefully he's back fully healthy by week number 5 and healthy. That is going to be the key for this offensive line. Into the interior here, which I ranked the guard at 24th and the center at 29th. I am not concerned about this interior offensive line. It is not maybe a huge strength at the moment. Ben Bredesen was good last season, and Cody Mauch continues to get better. And depth-wise, they're okay. You got Elijah Klein, a young guy. You got Suapeta bringing more of the veteran route in this room. So I feel like that they are in a decent position. If they start having injuries there, it could get a little tricky. I don't know if I feel really confident with any of those guys at the moment. So that would be my biggest question with this guard position. If they start having injuries, then things could get a little hairy. Center-wise, Graham Barton gives you versatility too, so maybe Jake Majors could end up being a player that, coming out of Texas, he looks pretty pro-ready to me, so possibly, depending on how he looks, he could be a guy that could fill in there, and Barton could fill in for one of those guard positions too. But speaking of Barton, really good rookie season, and I fully expect him to get better and better. So the offensive line, strictly the starting 5 is a very, very good one. It just comes down to if you start having more injuries, are you going to be able to fill in those roles? And I feel good about Charlie Heck. He's been a proven, solid, reliable swing tackle for them. And you got Ben Chikuma is going to be a guy to watch out for to make the roster as well at the other tackle position. And I expect them to keep about 9 offensive linemen here, maybe 10, especially with Wirfs being on the PUP list. So keep an eye on that. Wide receiver-wise, I rank this at number 1 in the NFL, even with Chris Godwin likely out for at least 4 games of the season. I do expect him back somewhere around the midpoint of the year, which will be huge. However, I'm cool with this wide receiving room, even without Godwin. Even if Godwin was out for that would suck. But even if Godwin was out of this team for the entirety of the season, this wide receiving core would still be pretty high for me. It would still be like a top 10, at least, top 10 unit in the NFL, because you got Emeka Egbuka, Jalen McMillan, very, very capable players. And on most teams, you talk about Emeka Egbuka, I think he could be a number 1 for a couple of teams already out there. So I think Egbuka, McMillan are going to be just fine to fill in for Chris Godwin. You got Trey Palmer, and then you're going to have some steep competition for that last roster spot, I'm guessing, between Ryan Miller, Sterling Shepard. Tez Johnson, to me, is a lock, so he would be included in the lock. He's going to be more of a special teams return man for them. And Raheem Jarrett will also be competing, though, with those other guys like Palmer, Shepard, and Miller. My guess right now is Miller might have a bit of the edge. I don't know. I think Palmer will end up making a roster spot, too, so Palmer ends up filling one of those. So Egbuka, Evans, of course. We know Mike Evans is a superstar, Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Famer. It just comes down to who's going to fill that last spot. If they want to go more of a veteran route or they want to go more of a youth route, keep an eye on some of those things. But this wide receiving room, there are going to be some people that get cut that will make it on other teams because they're very, very good here. On to the tight end position. I'm ranking at 25th. Cade Otton is dealing with a little injury right now. However, he should be good to go for the season, barring any major setback. You got Payne Durham, Kokeef, some good blocking in line backups to have. Devin Culp is another hybrid mismatch utility wide receiver / tight end. Heck, you could even transition him to outside wide receiver. That guy's got some athleticism profile where he could even fit the bill there. And he's going to be competing for a roster spot. I mean, he's not a locked-in guy. If I had to guess, they keep him. Overall, though, those Keith, Durham, and Otton are locked in at this moment, and Culp's going to be fighting for a spot. And it comes down to injuries, too, where he can make the team right away. On to the running back room, it's amazing. Bucky Irvin, Rashad White, Sean Tucker. Owen Wright looked good, too, in the first preseason game. So, I mean, hey, this room, they probably only need to keep. And the thing I'll say about this running back room, if you talk about all 3 of these guys, who has the best tandem of 3 running backs, I think the Bucs probably would win in that scenario. All 3 of those dudes, man, they could start for a lot of football teams. So this is a great running back room. They're going to be running behind these guys for this football team in the scheme. On to Baker Mayfield in the quarterback room. I rank it at number 9. They brought in Teddy B. unfortunately, with that whole situation where he got suspended, like that was one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. He was trying to help out the team and do whatever he can. Like, how do you don't? I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff out there, and they're going to suspend him for that. That's a sidetrack. But anyway, Teddy Bridgewater, Kyle Trask. Kyle Trask played really, really well in his first preseason game, too. So that's something to keep an eye on. Maybe Trask can, work into the backup role and beat out Teddy Bridgewater, because my guess is they only keep 2 quarterbacks. Maybe they go and keep a third quarterback here, so Teddy B and Kyle Trask could both be on the roster. My guess is, though, it's going to be really, really tight. So they're going to have to make a tough decision there. So if Trask has another good preseason game here, can finish up strong, then he might end up beating out Teddy Bridgewater. You never know, or maybe they would just keep 3 quarterbacks. Michael Pratt is injured at the moment, so he could be more of a practice squad, injured reserve sort of candidate there. Anyway, Baker Mayfield. Do you want to talk about Baker Quaker? One of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL right now, this is the ultimate comeback story for Baker Mayfield. The quest is here, and I really would love to see him win a Super Bowl or make a run at least. That guy he's worked for it, man. So we'll see how he does, and I'm very optimistic about Baker Mayfield and what he could bring to this football team, even with 3 new offensive coordinators in a row. On to the defense. It is kind of crazy, isn't it? The defense, and we look at the defensive line here. The edge room, I rank at 26th. It's going to come down to some of these young guys developing, and it also took a little bit of a hit with David Walker going on season-ending IR, which really sucked. It really does. And Chris Braswell, let's see if he takes the next step. Hassan Reddick, if Reddick bounces back, that contract's going to be 100% worth it. Are we going to see the Jets Hassan Reddick? Or are we going to see Philadelphia Eagles Hassan Reddick? That's really what the scenario for this is. I kind of just put him at the ranking right there. And ultimately, a lot to prove with Hassan Reddick. And he's going to be needed, critical, right, for this defensive line. Yaya Diaby on the other end, though, is looking really good. Continues to get better and better each season. And depth-wise, they're okay still. As I mentioned, Chris Braswell going in year number 2. You got Anthony Nelson, a solid veteran, could play a little inside out. Elijah Roberts, same thing, could play a little inside and down. We'll see how he comes along. So their depth is certainly, you got some guys like Jose Ramirez, Marquise Watts, and stuff like more practice squad candidates and whatnot. So I would suspect the key 5, Roberts, Nelson, Braswell, would figure to be those factors in. And then on to the interior here, where I rank them at 13th. Big Vita Vea, right? If you're talking about who is the best big man in the NFL, I would probably say Vita Vea, unless you want to count Sexy Dexy as like the nose tackle type. And then that's Sexy Dexy. Overall, Vita Vea is an absolute stud. And he is going to be an anchor for them on this defensive line. Don't be shocked, though, if Kalijah Kancey ends up leading this team in sacks. I think he's going to be supercharged this year. Huge Kalijah Kancey fan. Just waiting for him to take that next step. And this, to me, seems like the year. Logan Hall gives him some good depth in the pass rusher role. You got Grant Gaines as a good, solid depth at the 0-1 tech position. And you got some more dudes here like Gajix and Brewer lining up to fill out more roster spots and going to be competing. I don't know. Will they keep 5 or 6? I'm going to guess they keep around 5 there. So you have a little steep competition. Maybe Mike Green and Nash Hutchmacher are more practice squad guys. On to the linebacker position, which I rank at 17th right now. Levante David. Still the hardcore leader, stud, first ballot Hall of Famer. He is back and hopefully ready to go for one final championship run. You got Anthony Walker, maybe more champion. Just, give him a 10-year extension. He can play. He's fine. He's still playing at a super high level. Anyway, you got Anthony Walker who's dealing with little injuries, and that's really been his biggest Achilles heel throughout his career. He's a good football player. And if I wasn't worried about that, then I feel confident about this linebacking room to raise this up even more. It just comes down to Walker. Who's going to be that guy who has to step in for Walker when he gets a little banged up? Is it going to be Savache Dennis? How does he look this season? Deion Jones, a little bit more of a veteran option. Nick Jackson, though, watch out for that guy. Man, the Iowa linebackers, geez Louise, even Jay Higgins going off over there in Baltimore. So there's Iowa linebackers. They know how to play. I'll just say that right now. But Jackson, they're making his impact felt already. One of the craziest interceptions, like snagged like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's insane. Anyway, you got Anthony Walker, Levante David. It's a solid room. Levante David's going to help out no matter what. On to the cornerback room, which I rank at 13th in the NFL. It is filled with a lot of guys in here. And let me start by saying the injuries with Jamel Dean is always something you're going to say, oh, here, Jamel Dean, he's probably going to be out for a couple of games each season. Like, that's just how it goes. When he's going to get injured, of course. Hopefully he stays healthy because Jamel Dean's a really good football player. That's just been his big thing, too, is just injuries. You got Zion McCollum. I hear they're trying to work out a contract extension, so that's good. He's earned that. Tyke Smith. I list Tyke at corner, but he can also play safety for them. and he'll give them some good depth at Paul's positions. And there's a really good chance that they're going to ask Tyke to play more at safety up there with Christian Izien and Antoine Winfield and rock out with Jacob Parrish in the slot, because Parrish I think he's going to be a day one impact for this football team. Depth-wise, Benjamin Morris, one of my draft crushes. He was a top 10 player in the draft for me. It just comes down to he's been banged up. You're like, oh no, not another injured corner that we're getting, right? But no, I think Morrison's going to be an absolute steal for you guys. And then you got Kendall Vildor, some more depth, but Breece Hall, man, Breece Hall, as a Jets fan, trust me, that guy can play. So he's going to give you some really good depth, and I hear he's had a great camp, and overall gives you that fifth, sixth corner. He might be the first corner actually off the bench on the outside for injuries, especially if Morrison's a little banged up this season. On to the safety room, which I ranked this at 10th in the NFL. You got Christian Izien and Antoine Winfield. Winfield's dealing with his own little banged up injury right now. Overall, he should be good to go for the season. And as I mentioned, Izien gives you versatility. He can also play in the slot, can play up top, just like Tyke Smith, which I list both of these guys. So I'm not worried about the safety room. It's still a top 10 unit. And you got J.J. Roberts, who's been balling out as a UDFA, right? I mean, it looks like they found somebody there who could be a good force safety for this football team with Merriweather, who has a good chance of making the roster. And hey, let's not forget about Shiloh, okay? Hey, Shiloh, gotta give it, he was good. He was good. So I think Shiloh has a real chance. He's probably going to be more of a practice squad candidate for me. Name recognition will help him out a lot, but I don't think this team is going to go strictly off name recognition. I think there's a really good chance he gets hit on the practice squad, let him develop and see what you have from there, and you can call upon him, because if you do start having some injuries up here in the secondary, then the safety position is a spot where they could have some ability to move up a guy like Shiloh Sanders. I almost said Shedeur Sanders. I was kind of going for it. Caught myself. On to the coaching staff. Something looks a little funny about this one. Head coach Todd Bowles. I ranked this room at 18th. And even though I'm kind of feel like I'm disrespecting Todd Bowles in a little bit, I think Todd Bowles is a good coach. I really do. I know he gets a little bit of flack at times. In general, he's not a perfect coach. I don't think there's, you're not, I don't call him Andy Reid or anything like that, or Sean McVay level. However, I do think Bowles is a solid coach and somebody, he's a good leader. He's a good presence. He's a good players guy, and somebody that I would love to play, with and for. So I do think he's a little underrated in the NFL. He kind of gets pigeon-tailed off the coats of Tom Brady. And, he won a ring because of Tom Brady. Yeah, Tom Brady helps. However, I do think Todd Bowles is not a bad coach. And I think he's kind of like a good, sort of Bruce Arians type of coach for this football team that obviously they replaced. And you got John Grizzard, who's going to be replacing Liam Cohen this season. Once again, there's three. They've lost Canales, they lost Cohen, and now Grizzard, maybe he's going to be the next head coach out there. So I think that'll be kind of the biggest storyline for this football team is, can they continue to roll out offensive coordinators? And that's another credit to Todd Bowles and the coaching staff, as I say, because that's not easy to do, to keep things and to continue to get better as an offense, really, when you lose two back-to-back offensive coordinators. Now you're going on your third. So that's why I'm saying I think Todd Bowles is a pretty dang good coach. I really do. So that's why I give this, definitely it's in the average tier for me, but it certainly is in that above average possibilities. So John Grizzard, just with the unfamiliarity, what I've seen so far in the preseason looks good. He's going to lean behind that run game. Last thing here to talk about is the record prediction, and I have them going 10-7. So yeah, there might be some struggles, especially if Tristan Wirfs is out for a little bit. So that's something to keep an eye out on in this roster. They really need Tristan Wirfs. Protecting Baker Mayfield and the offensive line is critical. But ultimately, I think the Bucs are a really, really well-rounded team. I think their defense is kind of going to come out this year with improved secondary depth. They've got their, veterans still in place, their leadership roles. They've got a solid defensive line. If Hassan Reddick kind of, gets back to at least somewhat of a Philadelphia Eagles sort of game, this defense could be really, really good. So I'm excited about this Buccaneers team. Is this a little bit of fun? Absolutely. Okay, I don't want to just put the Chiefs, whatever. And I get it. They're more than likely, they have a good chance and stuff. And you could see the Eagles or whatever. Ultimately, I like the Bucs. I really believe that they could be here. This is not just me going on a limb and say, let's just do something for fun. I legit think this roster has serious potential. I do think the division will be tough this year, the conference in general. Ultimately, though, I do like the Bucs team, and I think they can compete. So let me know what you think, agree or disagree. And I hope you guys have a cool day. You know who number one is.